Today's video is going to be the greatest video in the history of the world for selling. Yes, you got that right, selling. And who would have thunk that a firewood delivery service is bringing this message? Guys, this video is for you. It doesn't even matter if you're not into sales, because we're all still customers. We all still buy stuff. We buy cars and dishwashers and houses. This is going to make you an even better consumer. We're all going to win at the end of this video, guys. Here we go. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that there are two recurring themes with selling. I've always said this. Selling is easy, number one. And number two, your object isn't necessarily to sell, but it is to earn a customer for life. We are going to talk about that today in this video, guys. The entire universe of selling. And what can you learn from a firewood delivery service? For today, guys, I think you can learn a lot. Stick around. We are going on a delivery today, guys. This is to a restaurant. I rarely use my trailer for deliveries, but there are two locations that I do. And this is a full cord of dry seasoned firewood. And this is my new trailer. I got it covered up and we're loaded up and ready to go. I'm not going to be talking about the mechanics of selling, you know, the close and the offering alternatives. That's not what I do. I'm going to be teaching you about the cornerstones of selling, the rock that you stand upon, the four corners of your selling house. And even if you're not even into sales, this is still relevant to you. I hope that this sensitizes you to the whole process and makes you a better consumer. We all win. If you are new to the channel, you might be asking, what could a firewood channel teach me about selling cars or steam valves for a nuclear power plant? I am telling you, it doesn't matter what you sell. You know, at some foundational level, selling is all the same. Specific to firewood, and you've heard me say this before, the most important thing about running a successful delivery service is selling, selling, and selling. It is that important. Why do we spend so much time on what saw, what truck, what processor, when really our focus should be on the most important part, which is the three: selling, selling, and selling? And for me, who never really had a background in sales, I was always in a selling environment, and it has an effect on you. I would watch how the training would take place, and I would pay attention. But also, too, I'm a consumer, and I have had some excellent experiences, and I've had some disasters. And I have taken all of my life experiences, and I have condensed them into these four cornerstones of being effective at sales. Yep. And I have said this before, you have heard me say this, at least in firewood, and maybe in many industries, selling is easy, especially firewood. You know, there's a firewood shortage every year. I would suspect that there's not a stick of firewood that goes unsold, at least here in this country. So my focus turned from then selling to not just selling, but winning a customer for life. My approach goes beyond just making that sale and putting money in my pocket and moving on. It's developing that relationship, which I hope is going to last for as long as I'm in this business. We are here, guys. First things first, I got to get checked in, and then once we're approved, we're going to get busy stacking. So cornerstone number 1, get over yourself. And I'm not saying that to knock you down a peg. I am just saying that because you have to be a humble servant when you are a salesperson. It is not about you. There is a fine line between confidence and arrogant, and no one likes an arrogant person, especially an arrogant salesperson. When you become focused on yourself in a sales environment, you are worrying about yourself. You're not worrying about the customer. And here is that opportunity to get that customer for life. Think of it this way. You're selling something that was manufactured by a different company, and they've put a lot of marketing and exposure into that product. The company you work for does the same thing, marketing their sales, their dealer support. What have you done to get that customer to come in and see you? Usually you've done nothing except you've moved a sheet of paper from this side of the building to this side of the building. It's pretty easy, right? The customer needed an alternator for their truck. They came in and they bought the alternator for their truck. How hard was that? And it makes me remember when I used to work in auto parts, and that was the reason I used that example. This guy, okay, I mean, he had a big personality, but gee whiz, he just totally had all of the focus on himself, and he would just celebrate and go around all bragging on himself because he sold an alternator to a customer. But you know, when you think about it, well, how hard was that? You know, the customer needed an alternator and they came in and they bought one. There's no reason for you to be high-fiving yourself and acting like you're the greatest thing since the automatic transmission, because you're not. Get over yourself and don't lead yourself down that road of arrogance where you're the greatest salesperson in the world. Be confident in how you can serve and how humble you can be to put all of your attention onto the customer. That is the first cornerstone of winning a customer for life and being better at sales. The second cornerstone, the most important thing in the world is standing right in front of you, right? That is your mission, and that is the reality when you're in sales. The customer is standing in front of you. They command and deserve your full attention. Nothing else matters in the world except this interaction. And we all know what it's like. You know, you're talking with your kids or your spouse or a coworker, but salespeople, you know, they get distracted, and it just, you just learn real fast where the emphasis is in that person's life. And I know that we all have problems, and it's tough to leave them behind. But when a customer is standing in front of you, all of that, you got the rest of the day. Just leave it behind you and focus on that sale, focus on that customer. That is the only thing in the world that matters right now. When you're able to do that, man, you become good at what you do. Because this is building relationships, it's building trust. And when you can give a person your undivided attention, everything else starts becoming easier. And I know what it's like, you know, to talk to someone who's distracted. And we've all been there. And we've probably been on both sides of it too. And even when you're talking on the phone, you can't even see the person. You darn well know if they have your attention. You can tell if they're distracted. And if they don't seem to care, I think that ruins this opportunity that is now in front of you. You are trying to win a customer for life, so nothing else in the world matters right now except what you can do to be a servant for this customer in this opportunity. Remember, guys, the most important thing in the world is standing right in front of you. We know what it's like when, you know, there are people that you meet in your life, and man, there's just something about them that makes you comfortable, that makes you feel like you belong there. And it reminds me, I used to work with this guy who once had a job with the Cleveland Browns. He worked in their facilities department. And this was back when the general manager of the Browns was Carmen Policy, who, ironically, is from Youngstown, Ohio. He was also the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers. But the reputation that Carmen Policy had was how he made people feel. And my old coworker had said that when you were with Carmen Policy, he made you feel like the most important person in the world. Nothing else mattered to him. And it didn't matter if you were the janitor or if you were an executive, he knew every person's name in that building, and he gave them their undivided attention. He knew everything about that person when he was done talking to them. And the loyalty that people had for this one individual is what brought him all of his success throughout the years. Nothing else was more important in his world than when he was talking with you. And the same thing goes when you're in sales. Cornerstone number 2. And, oh, by the way, guys, this firewood is awesome. This is all part of that first in, first out system I have set up, and all the wood's in straight rows, and the seasoned is on this end. I stack the green on this end, and then the season chases the green, and then I backfeed. So I always have a perpetual inventory of seasoned firewood, because this restaurant is finicky, and if this stuff doesn't burn, they are on the phone. They are on the phone with you. If you've been with this channel though for a while, you know that I like to keep things. Simple, and that's why when I talk about cornerstones, I'm keeping it simple. 4 things. I used to work for this one company, and they had their whole master plan diagrammed out on sales, and they called it like the hedgehog. I don't know what the heck that means, but it was this triangle, and it had a bunch of little triangles inside with writing about this and that, and it had a big circle around it with arrows, and it had like arrows pointing into the triangle and pointing out. I was like, what the heck? I didn't know what that was. And they lost me at the first triangle, right? And that's what I'm just saying here. Keep it simple. Sales should be simple, and it should be easy. And standing on this platform with the 4 cornerstones, you can then start practicing your sales skills on how to close the sale or how to overcome objections. Those are still important, but we're talking about not just selling, but winning a customer for life. And it's not about that type of skills. It's about your attitude and the way that you approach these things. And that leads us to our 3rd cornerstone, and that is solve the problem. Or, as we like to say in Ohio, solve the problem. It's an Ohio thing. You wouldn't understand. Cornerstone number 3 is very simple, guys. Solve the problem. And what is the problem? The problem is the customer's problem. The problem is not your problem. We all know what your problem is. You got to get the sale or you're going to lose your job. You got to get the sale or you're going to lose your sales quota. You need to sell the blue widget to win the contest and not sell the green widget, even though that's what the customer wants. Solve the problem. All of your attention goes on to what the problem is. The customer needs a new dishwasher. The customer needs cherry firewood. Don't try to sell them hickory, right? You can still talk about other items or other things to help educate the customer, but stick to what the problem is. And the problem is what the customer says. We went to buy a car one time, and I will never forget this for the rest of my life. We wanted to buy a Ford Taurus, and there's a million of them on the road at that time, and they all looked alike. And I made one demand. I do not want a black car. You gotta wash them all the time, right? And I don't like washing my car all the time. I just didn't want a black car. Well, the sales guy kept trying to push me onto this black Ford Taurus. And no matter where our discussion went, it came back to the black Ford Taurus. I found out later that it was last year's model. No one had bought it, and they were just trying to move it off of their lot. They probably had some kind of a sales contest internal to see who can sell that black Ford Taurus before all the others. The salesperson was worried about solving his problem. He wasn't worried about solving my problem. And those are the things. Now, he could have gotten my sale, but that's the opportunity that he lost. He would never see me back in that shop again, because you can tell when a salesperson doesn't care what your problem is. They're focused on themselves. And these 4 cornerstones are teaching us to get away from focusing on ourselves and put all of the focus where it belongs, and that belongs on the customer. If you recall our conversation back at the woodyard, you don't have to be in sales to understand what we're talking about here, because I hope that this sensitizes all of us, because we're all consumers. We all buy stuff on how we're being treated by whoever the salesperson is. When they focus on themselves, that should be obvious, right? The problem is the customer's problem. It's not the salesperson's problem. That is probably the most important cornerstone that I have been dealing with in selling firewood, because I still get a lot of phone calls for people that are looking for big chunk wood, you know, for boilers, and I don't sell that. When people call me, you know, wanting boiler wood, I don't ignore what they're saying and then just try to sell my restaurant grade value-added firewood. That is not their problem. That's my problem. Their problem is they need chunk wood. And I have a network of people that I deal with that I refer them to. So I am still solving their problem. I may not get the sale, but they're going to remember that. And I have already had calls that have come back from customers that I couldn't take care of, but I pointed them into the right direction. I've had sales where they've come back, and I'm telling you, I've won that customer for life. And our fourth cornerstone, and quite honestly, I wish we only had 3 and that we lived in a triangular house, but I have to add this one. The fourth cornerstone is don't forget to say thank you. Such a simple concept, but it doesn't get practiced, and I have witnessed it myself. You know, I had made a very recent purchase on equipment, and I walked into this place with a very large check. It had a lot of numbers on it. They were very friendly. They were very efficient, and I was right next to the owner the entire time that I was dealing with the counter people, you know, filling out the papers. He never said, well, he never said hello, but he never said thank you. And he had a second opportunity when we were out in the yard looking at what I had just purchased. He walked right by me and he never said those magic words. It just left a bad taste, you know, because you can buy equipment anywhere these days, you know, and if you haven't been paying attention, you know, there's not a lot of innovation in this world anymore. Everyone makes everything look exactly the same. Tractors look the same, cars look the same, refrigerators look the same, trailers look the same, and there's not much difference anymore. And there's really not much difference in price. And so here I am making a purchase, and I'm putting some good money down on this product. And the owner never even said thank you. I had already made a commitment. They will never see me again back at that place. There's just way too many other places to go. Now, if I have a warranty claim, I'll take it back, but there's just too many other places to spend my money at. And all it needs is a simple thank you. And there you go, guys. The 4 cornerstones of selling, as the way I see things. Get over yourself. The only thing that matters in the world is standing right in front of you. Solve the problem, and please don't forget, say thank you. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and it's something that I really do feel has put us in a much better position as a firewood delivery service. I really do believe our approach is that we don't focus on the money. We focus on taking care of the customer and trying to win that customer for life. And these 4 cornerstones is what kept coming back to me every time I would have an interaction with a customer. And then you think about things that you've experienced in your past in dealing with sales opportunities, or sales situations that you were in that either went really well or they left a bad taste. So I hope that you enjoyed these 4 cornerstones. And just like that, guys, we are done. I'm here gabbing with you, and the next thing I know, we're stacked a full cord of seasoned firewood, and mission accomplished here. So if you enjoyed this video and my 4 cornerstones, please give me a thumbs up, and maybe think about sharing this with someone. You might have a person in your life that's in the sales. I really do think that this can help them out. Everyone have a great day.